Well, good day and welcome to you. It is August the 24th. I hope you're having a great day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome everyone to Search for Signs if you've never been here before, and welcome you back if you have. And quickly point out, if you want to know more about this information, I do think investigation is the best thing to do. Educate yourself better, then you can actually see if there's any truth to this for yourself or not. And you can do it however you want to do it. I have included links to websites that give you really good background information to kind of at least get you started. Maybe even save you some time in terms of trying to find where to go to find the right information. So hopefully you'll check into that. Details are in the description portion of each and every one of these videos. All right, now, also would like to thank those people who commented and asked questions since the last video I put up. Spirit Watcher 178 commented, thank you. MV Augusta 675, not to be confused with MV Augusta 674. Pharaoh's Jewelers again, thank you. And Brian R. Rivera, so thank you everybody for commenting since the last video. And of course, anyone's welcome to comment, ask questions. I'd look forward to questions and comments too. So, all right, now I do have a few questions to cover coming from Spirit Watcher 178, and we'll try to cover it, and maybe if there's enough time I'll address a comment or two. We'll see. All right, let's see what's going on. Spirit Watcher asked, what is the Vatican's role in all of this? Is Pope Francis paving the way for Lucifer during Vatican ceremonies, singing praises to Lucifer in Latin? Well, I guess my question would be, is he? I don't know. I don't speak Latin, so I wouldn't know. And I'm not Catholic, so I'm not listening to any Vatican ceremonies where he's singing anything, let alone praises to Lucifer. Now, I do want to discuss what Lucifer is. I do want to discuss who and what I think Pope Francis is and his role in all this, too, and then the Vatican's role as well. So, I don't know everything about everything, but I do know enough to know that when it comes to words and language, as time goes on, people create new meanings for words. But the original meaning for Lucifer means light bearer or bearer of light or something like that in Latin. And if you broke down the word, lux or lux is light, and then afer is bringer of. And if you know anything about lights, LED lights, when you go to the store and you want to see exactly how bright it is, they measure it in lux, right? Well, that's where it's coming from. So it means light bringer, like I said, or bringer of light. But I know that what you were talking about is not the bringer of light. You're talking about Satan, right? Well, this is a misinterpretation of who and what Lucifer is. Now, if you would look at Genesis, right, which first book of the Bible should be predominantly taken symbolically and not literally or seriously in that regard, or literally taken seriously, I guess, or seriously taken literally. That's what I meant. It's meant to be taken symbolically, and whoever wrote it, I think it was Moses who wrote Genesis, but I'm not quite sure. Of course, was writing it to people who had no understanding about the world, the universe in which they live in, or even themselves, and where they came from, and was writing in kind of an allegorical kind of way to get the point across. Now, the problem is that people take the Bible so literally, word for word, that they refute and discount everything that they think is really logical, and just go with that's what we need to go with, right? And so even some semi-educated or pretty educated people of today forget everything about science, everything about what scientists have proved and disproved, in terms of creationism and where we all come from, that they just say, well, no, it's not what they say. This is what was written in the Bible, right? It took 7 calendar days in order to create the entire universe. Somewhere along the way, God created man in the Garden of Eden. You know the story, right? And then at some point, I guess it was the first day, I don't know if they ever specified, there was a war in heaven, according to what people think about the Bible, and Lucifer got fed up with God telling him what to do and said, I quit, day 1. That sucks, you know what I mean? Either God's very demanding or he's just not a very good employee, I guess. I don't know, I'm kidding. And was cast out of heaven and then to rule in hell, as they like to say. And ever since then has caused all the problems in everyone's life, People don't have any take any responsibility of their wrongdoings. It's all Satan, that kind of thing, right? I'm generalizing, but that's in essence what it is. Now, Lucifer, from an esoteric standpoint, is much different than that. Lucifer was a symbol in the Bible that was symbolizing the oversoul of humanity. Now, most people don't even know what a soul is. That's why we have the problems that we have. If we all believed ourselves to truly be a soul, we would live life much differently than we live today. But people don't believe that we're souls. If you're an atheist, you think that you're just the brain, perhaps. If you're a Christian, fundamentalist Christian, maybe you think that you'll get the soul when you die, kind of deal. But in truth, what we are is we're souls in incarnation. And this will be proven scientifically in a lab by a group of scientists in France, probably within all our lifetimes if we live long enough. But at some point, it will happen. And they'll be able to give that experiment to other scientists to duplicate in their labs and so forth, and prove the existence that we are souls. I don't know how they're going to do it. That's not my gig, but that's just what they're going to do. But if we saw our life as souls, if we saw truly that we were souls, we wouldn't harm other people in the way that we harm each other today. But we're totally ignorant of that fact. But what we are is we are fragmented sparks of a greater soul. We're individualized. We have directive purpose. When we harm somebody else, that karma comes back on us individually. If we're doing it as a group, then it comes back to us as a group. If we do it as a nation, it comes back to us as a nation, and so forth. But for the most part, we're individual souls. But we're not individual. We're a part of an oversoul. And that soul is a part of an even greater soul, which is a part of an even greater soul and a greater consciousness, and so forth, all throughout cosmos. There is no separation in cosmos whatsoever. The view that we have of the universe is that we're separate, and then there's the universe and everybody else, and everybody's separate from us, but there's no truth to that. Maitreya is here to teach us that we are one. I do believe that the problems that we're facing globally, the environment, war, crime, those kind of things, because they affect each and every one of us, is life's way of showing us that we are one. The problems need to be solved together, which is another way of saying that we are one. The problems, if we don't address these problems in time, will affect each and every one of us, which is another way of saying I think that we are one. So there's proof out there that we're one, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But that's what the oversoul was in terms of why it was written in the Bible and the way that it is as a symbol. And the casting out of Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden was a symbol for humanity starting to individualize. Now, if you were to look at the animal kingdom, the kingdom of which humanity came out of, animals do not have individual souls. So I have a dog. You might have a dog, but I'm sure you've seen other dogs. But they all share the same soul, but not individually, but as one. So dogs, cats, other animals do not have directed purpose like humans do. They don't think for themselves the way that we do on whatever level we can. So a dog doesn't wake up in the morning time and go, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to go play ball today. They don't look at life like that, where we do. Now, predominantly right now, we see life very selfishly, and we act according to that belief that we are separate. And that's where Satan comes into play. Satan is a symbol for the selfish nature within all of us, not a being that's there to deceive us. That absolves everyone from all responsibility when you view life like that. We're responsible for our own lives, for good or for ill. It's based on the law of cause and effect, which is one of the two great laws that govern all of humanity. Jesus talked about it. What you sow shall you reap. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this is kind of making sense in terms of what the esoteric view is of Lucifer, but it has nothing to do with what the fundamentalist Christian, or probably all of Christians, believe Lucifer to be. But I understand that meaning of that has changed. You know what I mean? So, but as time goes on, people will start to understand what it means to be a soul, the qualities of the soul, which is joy, creativity, unconditional love, divine purpose, meaning that the purpose that the soul has for whatever it does is not selfish. It's only for the good of others and the good of the world and that kind of thing. Uncorruptible, those kind of things. And these, when I talk about the qualities of these masters, those are the qualities that I use to describe them. And the reason why I use those qualities to describe them is because they are manifesting the soul perfectly. We are not. That's the difference between a regular person and a master. But as time goes on, the soul keeps incarnating over and over and over again, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times, taking on different challenges, different things that they have to work on, different physical types, different genders, different racial makeup, and everything like this, to the point where they eventually start to manifest that soul more and more, to where eventually they manifest it perfectly. That's the destiny of each and every one of us, without exception. But we share that divinity just as these masters have that divinity manifesting perfectly. We all share that divinity. That's the soul. That's who and what we are. And Maitreya and these masters are here to teach us how to live true to that truth, that we are one, but also true that we are our own souls. That's where ideological differences wreak havoc on us. And that kind of goes with the Vatican, right? When the churches started, and they pedalized Jesus, and they made Jesus the only true Son of God, they also stepped in and said, you have to tithe to us, right? You have to give us your power and your devotion, and then, and only then, can you get to the big guy. Well, even Jesus said that, he was speaking against the establishment of his time, who thought the same fallacy, that they were the intermediaries. They knew how to get to God, and everyone had to go to the temple to do that, to give them their authority. And Jesus spoke out against that very thing. But yet the Christians, especially the early Christians, turned around and did that. And then, the same thing that Jesus spoke out against, they turned around and did themselves. And then they turned around and indoctrinated just generations of people into believing that they are the only ones. There's no truth to any of that. You can find God wherever, whenever you are. Like Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And that's really what it is. But so to get to your next part of your question about Pope Francis, I'm not a Catholic, so I'm not saying this because I am, sticking up for my guy, or I'm not a Catholic, so I'm not saying this because I'm a member of that club. I'm saying this as objectively as I possibly can based on what I've seen, what I've read, the interviews that I've seen with him, the videos that I've seen about his life and those kind of things. He made a vow is it the Semitic vow, where he's just, of poverty, of, being very simple. He kept true to that vow throughout his entire life. And when he was elected Pope, I don't think he really wanted to be the Pope. So it wasn't like he was pushing his way to the front of the line to become the Pope. They elected him. Now, the funny thing, not the funny thing, but it is, but, the thing that I remarked at the time that they elected him is, as corrupt as the Vatican has been over the centuries, has as much evil as they perpetrated on the people of the time that, whenever it happened to be, they seem like they got this one right. They actually elected the right guy for the right time. They could have elected somebody that was very corrupt, political, had political motives, those kind of things that would have been the wrong person for them. It would have been very easy for them to do that. I mean, it seems like every other institution on the planet does that. You know what I'm saying? I live in the United States. I mean, when are we going to elect somebody and representatives for Congress or the president that actually is a decent person, you know what I mean, and not corrupt? Not at least totally to partially, corrupt, you know what I mean? So, but it just seemed like they got this one right. Now, the reason why I'm saying I think they got this right is because he's a humble guy. He doesn't want that power. We're in an age where everybody seems to be gathering more, wanting and greedy for more and more power and more influence and more money. He doesn't seem to be like that. So he's heading up one of the most powerful institutions in the world without that, desire for more power like that. Which is, I think, what the popes should have been all about service to the people. Just like I think that should be the way politicians are with their people, serving their people in that way. But Everyone has their own view, and I know people have different views of Pope Francis, but that's my view of him. But I do think he's also the right person for the right time, because it has been said that once Maitreya is out known for who he is after the Day of Declaration, he's going to start to introduce some of these masters. And one of them is the Master Jesus, who's living in Rome at this time. So Maitreya started off in London, and now he's been doing interviews on TV around the world, whether he's still in London at this moment in time or not or whatever, I don't know. But there are other masters who are living in various cities around the world, like Tokyo, New York, London, apart from Maitreya, Jesus in Rome, Moscow, Beijing, Paris, San Francisco, LA, and a few other cities. But for the most part, those are the ones that Benjamin Creme mentioned. And none of those masters are going to introduce themselves or be outed as masters until Maitreya introduces them after the Day of Declaration. But it has been said that Jesus, because he is in Rome, will eventually head up the churches. But he will, of course, need to be asked by the churches in order to do that. He's not going to just assert his will over the churches. So I do think that because of who Pope Francis is and his lack of desire for power and political power and money and influence, that he would be the one that would step aside and let the people hear from Jesus and learn from him in that way. So is he going to be the last pope? I do think so. I think he's going to be the last pope, but that's just my own humble opinion of him. You know what I mean? But eventually, Jesus, when he does head up the churches, he'll be a guide, as a teacher for the churches, but he will bring the Bible truer to what the real meanings of the Bible were always supposed to be, with all the distortions and the things that were added in and taken out. The things that were taken out that were important, he would tell them, we need to put this back in here at this time. And then a lot of these verses might make more sense, you know what I mean? Or things that were added in that kind of confuse matters and make matters worse, he'll say, like, we need to take those things out, right? To be true to what he was teaching 2,000 years ago in Palestine, really. But that's where his role is going to be. And I also think because of who and what Jesus is and his popularity and how well known he is, that he'll have other, not jobs, but he'll be looked at by other people other than just the Christians. But for the most part, he is going to, according to the masters, eventually head up the churches in that way. So that's why I think Pope Francis is the right person for the right job. And then the Vatican, of course, is an organization, and it's a very corrupt organization. And it was built under the influence of the energies of Pisces over the last 2,000 years, just like the United States government, just like the British government, just like the Wall Street, just like all these structures and these institutions that we've come to know and love or hate were all built without exception under the influence of Pisces. They were put there to serve the few at the expense of the many. In the future, in the coming time, the energies of Aquarius are much different. So these institutions, like the Vatican, like the United States government, like the British government, like Wall Street and the markets around, economic markets around the world and so forth, militaries around the world, there's no way that they can survive for much longer because the energies are getting stronger. And the energies of Aquarius are cooperation, justice, peace, sharing, those kind of things. So far different than what we're used to today. But I do think that once the principle of sharing takes place, the Vatican, hopefully, at least, will start to give up some of the treasures that they've hoarded or stolen from people throughout the centuries. The arts, the sculpture, the literature, those kind of things, the historical facts that they're hiding away. Hopefully they'll give it to the people, and we can benefit from it as well, because they do have a treasure trove hidden down there somewhere. All right, well, hopefully that answers that question, or those questions. And let me see if I can address a comment real quick. MV Augusta 675 wrote something that really kind of made me laugh. Maitreya, amongst many things, is a great actor. Raj is still the man. Now, that being said, you'd think I'd be defensive about that. I'll let you believe whatever you want to believe. But at the very least, whoever wrote this, you listen to the video. You might have missed the point entirely, but you at least listen to the video. So I got to give you that much. And this is what made me laugh. In fact, you could be Maitreya. Don't try to deny it. you'll just make it more obvious. Well, that last part's kind of bogus. So just because I deny it, that makes it obvious. You kind of remind me of, if my daughter knew I was asleep, like sound asleep, and she came and she said, Daddy, I need $20. And if you don't say anything in the next 10 minutes, I'll take that as a yes. And I'll just get the money out of it. I'll take that as permission for me to get the money out of it. What does this mean? So I can't deny it. I'm not Maitreya. Raj Patel is not Maitreya. You can believe whatever you want to believe about me or Raj Patel, but I'll tell you that neither of us are Maitreya. But I have said this before, and I guess I'll have to say it again. I'm just an ordinary person. I have bills I have to pay. I have job responsibilities. Now I have family responsibilities. My daughter's about to go to college next year. These are things that Maitreya doesn't have to worry about. His worries and his concerns are far different than mine. He's concerned moment to moment about us going right off a cliff as a humanity, destroying the world entirely, right, at that time. He's here to help us save ourselves from that destruction. That's his main concern. His only concern, really. I have other concerns other than just that. But I'm an ordinary person who stumbled across what I think to be extraordinary information. I'm not alone in this. I've never claimed to be the only person who knows this. There's thousands upon thousands of people who know the exact same thing that I know. I've never claimed that any of the information that when I talk about this is anything that you couldn't get from reading Benjamin Creme or Alice Bailey or thinking it up yourself. I don't claim those kind of things. I don't claim to receive direct information or direct messages from any of these masters, let alone Maitreya, like some people claim. I don't claim that because I know it's not true, right? But with all that being said, I do have the confidence to talk to people about this. And I'm dumb enough to put myself out there, I guess, because I don't get any brownie points for doing this for sure. And I don't make any money off these videos. I do this because my only concern is the future of humanity. That's it. And I know, as they said in the movie The Matrix, the only way to get there is together. And the only way to get there together is through the principle of sharing. That's why I believe in this so strongly. That's why I've been talking about it so much. So belief in who and what you think Maitreya is, who and what you think I am, or where, like somebody said, I was going to go to the worst possible place they could think of, HE double hockey sticks. Don't care. I only care about the future of humanity. And I know we're headed in the wrong direction because we're selfish, we're greedy, all the corruption in politics and religion and economics. And we got to find a way as a people to steer away from the edge. And the only way to do that is through the principle of sharing. That's why I am firm what I say when I say these things, But other than that, I'm not claiming anything about anything. And like I said, truth be told, if I was Maitreya, or like somebody said Donald Trump was Maitreya, we're screwed, man, if that's the case, because he can do a lot more than I can, for sure. But anyway, I do thank you for the comment nonetheless, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and I look forward to more comments and questions in the future. You guys take care. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.